Worrying about privilege is a privilege in itself. If the first thing that pops into your cranium when you awaken has to do with white privilege, male privilege, this privilege, that privilege, then you better check your own privilege. Because the only thing that a normal American cares about is a particular person. And that person is bill, car bill, house bill, grocery bill. If you are wealthy enough that you don't have to worry about bill anymore, then you are privileged in yourself. But the truth is, no one is equal in every way and never will be. Not even a man is equal to himself today than he was a previous day. For instance, I've been lifting weights quite regularly. Today, my arms are sore because my muscles have broken a little bit. So I could kick my own ass today, 2 days ago. So I'm not the same even in that metric itself. But everybody has privileges in some particular way, matter, or faction. Since I've been working out, I can lift over 200 pounds over my head. But at the same time, if I'm alone with a female, I'm more likely to be accused of sexual assault because I'm bigger, stronger, faster. A woman can't lift as much weight, but she's less likely to be imprisoned. 90% of all prison inmates are male. So I just think it's pretty funny how we always want to point out one instance. Here's what they do. They pick out one metric to show how one side has an advantage. And then that definitively, beyond a shadow of a doubt, proves that you're privileged. Not that you might be privileged in a particular area and disadvantaged in another particular area. But that's what these politicians do. They prey on the stupid. You really think Joe Biden, you really think Kamala Harris believes this shit? They probably go on stage and talk about how bad white people are. Then they laugh their asses off when the camera's off about how dumb the American people are for buying that shit. Activism today, at worst, on the top levels, is being used to get the disenfranchised individuals to revolt, to hate the country, and to create a global government. And at best, is obsolete. If you take a look at these protests, for instance, Black Lives Matter is funded a large portion by George Soros, along with the Women's March. You look into this dude's background, he was a Nazi sympathizer. He admitted on 60 Minutes that he confiscated property for the Nazis, and he was fine with that. He admitted it, not my words. But this dude goes into a country, he gets small dupes who are disenfranchised with the system, he gives them money, gives them funding, they revolt, and then a war ensues. Look at Ukraine, look at Georgia. And I don't mean the state of Georgia, the country of Georgia, where Joseph Stalin was born. It's called the Orange Revolution. So at the top, they find these dupes, these college students that have nothing else going for them. They give them money. Those students go hold signs on the streets and bitch. And the reason the students do this is because they want to be relevant. They don't want to get money to start a business, provide a good or a service. They don't have any aspirations like becoming a doctor or joining the NFL. They want to be activists. But really, the only thing they're activating is their own egos and trying to activate their own relevance. But the question I always asks them when they say, I am a activist for African Americans, I am an activist for women, I'm an activist for trans, my question is, what specific constitutional amendment, what specific U.S. statute, U.S. code applies to white people, the privileged individuals, but does not apply to the individuals who have no privilege. And a lot of the time, they're confused, and then they point out specific instances. Again, see, these people, they don't give you facts. They give you regurgitation from the corporate media, something they see on CNN or they hear on national public radio. They don't read books, they don't actually study history. But they say, cops are killing African Americans. And I tell them, I say, well, that does happen in some instances, but did you know? And I show them on my phone, I have it saved. According to the Washington Post, more Caucasian individuals got killed by police officers in 2016 who are unarmed than African Americans. Did you know that, according to FBI crime statistics, 90% of African Americans are being killed by other African Americans? So you can point out small instances where police officers shoot unarmed African Americans, but it doesn't happen very often. And that's similar to watching a shark attack or a plane crash. A plane is over 100 times safer than a car crash. But any time a plane crashes, it is broadcasted all over the news. And then dumbasses see that and they're like, oh, I'm not going on a plane. And then they don't go because they think one instance is a representation of the entire infrastructure, the entire viewpoint. And that's why the Democratic Party is appealing to the lowest common denominator. Under the guise of equality and fairness, they want to dictate more of their individual lives. And what I mean by this, well, what does a dictator do? They want to dictate more of your life, right? How do you measure the metric to see if someone's a dictator or not? Well, the government, believe it or not, writes something called the Federal Registry. The Federal Registry lists all the laws and regulations. Basically, the government's dictation of your life. Well, Trump has lowered it to record levels. The Federal Registry is the smallest it's ever been. So by definition, how can Trump be a dictator when he's dictating less of your life? See, these people are morons. They don't read books. They don't know history. They don't know anything. And so the media, George Soros, the politicians are appealing to the lowest common denominator. Then they regurgitate what they hear. And then they come after someone like me that knows the facts. Everything has to have an end game. Everything. Another question I like to ask these people is, if you were president for a day, dictator for a day rather, let's make this more interesting. What is one specific law you would alter, you would change completely, you would write, that you think could be implemented that day that would actually help the individuals that you are supposed to be helping? And they don't say anything because they have no end game. They have no end game in mind. See, my end game is I want maximum freedom for the individuals. The fact that Trump has lowered the scope, the size, and the regulations of the federal government, as a libertarian at heart on certain issues when it pertains to freedom, that's my end game. I want a small government. I want the Constitution to be followed as it was written, and for individuals to have maximum freedom. But when you ask those people questions, they have no end game. I also like to ask these people who are pro-blackity black, have you ever been to Africa? A lot of them, I've been to Puerto Rico, I've been to Mexico, I've been to Canada. But you've not been to Africa? You're so into your own skin color, yet you've never been to the original place where your ancestors were born? Okay, well, that's fine. I get that. But what tribe did you originate from? You're so obsessed with skin color. I mean, I'm Anglo-Saxon. I know where I originated from. Anglo-Saxon, Celtic. I mean, I don't obsess with it every day. I don't wake up out of bed and say, oh, I'm Anglo-Saxon and Celtic. That's not the way I go about it. But they're the ones who are obsessed. So when you're obsessed with something, you think you would know everything there is to know about it, right?